Behold, all the occasions where Draco Malfoy was just so Draco Malfoy, it pained us. The first time he met Harry in Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions. How many 11-year-old children do you know who would randomly start up a conversation with another child during the supremely awkward experience of being fitted for clothes? The answer is exactly one, and it was Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. You should also be reminded that during this conversation, Draco did not A. introduce himself to Harry, or B. ask Harry his name. Rather, he immediately started bragging about how good he was at flying, because even at 11 years old, Malfoy's ego was large enough to create tides in the Black Lake. During this very short conversation, Draco mentioned his father 3 times, setting up a pattern of behaviour that Draco fans would come to know and love. When he showed off the brooms his father bought the Slytherin team, and they still lost. As we've already seen, Draco considered himself one hot scroot when it came to flying a broom. In Draco's second year, my father Malfoy got his father to get the whole Slytherin Quidditch team new Nimbus 2001 brooms, and thus bought his way onto the team. This moment is especially good because Slytherin lost the match to Gryffindor anyway, due to Draco not paying attention to the snitch hovering by his ear, dueling Harry, and cheating at dueling Harry. Challenging people to duels is very Draco. It's a grand, pompous, and dramatic gesture. Actually dueling is not Draco. That's why it's no surprise that on the first occasion of Philosopher's Stone, it was a trick. On the second occasion, he cheated by attacking early and by getting help from Snape. So predictable, Draco. When he was attacked by Buckbeak. Draco was raised in a manor house with grounds, a manor house with grounds that had peacocks. And yet he lacked the basic decorum to not insult a hippogriff. It's a miracle he even managed to bow at all, receiving instant karma via Hermione Granger. Hermione had to put up with a lot from Malfoy over the years. He taunted her, made fun of her teeth, and on more than one occasion called her a mudblood. The one time she responded violently was when she overheard Malfoy making fun of Hagrid in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and consequently slapped Malfoy right around the face. Draco's response is just the height of classic Draco behaviour, because he had no response at all. Draco talks a talk, but he can rarely back it up. On this occasion, he did walk the walk, away from Hermione. That classic time, he was turned into a ferret. In Draco's 4th year, he tried to jinx Harry from behind, and Professor Moody turned him into a ferret for his trouble. It was brilliant because Draco, with his pointed face, is just so ferrety. If he were an animal, a ferret is definitely what he'd be. Once he'd been returned to human form, he muttered something in which the words, "my father," were distinguishable. So the only way the entire debacle could have been any more Draco is if he'd been losing to Harry at Quidditch at the same time. That time he mass-produced Potter Stinks badges. Draco clearly looks down on Hufflepuffs. He insulted the entire house the first time he met Harry. So the only reason he supported Cedric Diggory in the Triwizard Tournament is because he hated Harry that much. The Potter Stinks badges were an iconic Draco move. Firstly, because he really is the sort of person who thinks badges are some kind of epic burn. And secondly, because there's a possibility that Draco sat in his dorm room in his free time carefully making loads of magical badges. Imagine him sat on his bed, bleakly drawing the name of his worst enemy over and over again, when he couldn't find a large group of students meeting right under his nose. Malfoy was in the Inquisitorial Squad in his 5th year at Hogwarts, and spent weeks not being able to find Dumbledore's army, even though they were a huge group of students and even though they were sneaking around right under his nose the entire time. There were loads of them, Draco, loads. It should have been harder to not catch them. Honestly, aren't Slytherins supposed to be cunning? Apparently not this Slytherin, when Harry was somehow a better Slytherin than he was. Harry, the pride of Gryffindor House, has been in the lair of Salazar Slytherin. He speaks Parseltongue, he actually manages to follow through on his cunning plans, and he only missed being sorted into Slytherin by the skin of his teeth. Malfoy is a good Slytherin by dint of being sorted into Slytherin. But despite this, Draco never stopped trying. Blimey, maybe he should have been a Hufflepuff instead.